1010XL.
Hey, show me what you got, pretty lady.
Welcome into this Wednesday edition of the show. People are always bringing food to the station, Taylor, and I'm never going to complain about free food. But at some point, could someone bring in something healthy like hummus and carrots or something besides all the
donuts and cupcakes? And
yes, we get so much dessert, which is great.
Yeah.
But all the different wonderful things that we get. And like I said, I'd never complain about free food. But maybe some salad would be lovely. How about that for a change? Like, here's a grilled chicken salad.
Yeah, and I'm not the biggest, and you're not either, but like the biggest sweet fan in general. And like I have my things, like my certain sweets that I do enjoy, but for the most part, like I'd personally I'll eat a salad, I'll eat some like carrots and dip and all of that stuff too. But I would love some like French fries. Like that's more my vibe.
Firehouse brought us French fries.
That was delicious. The like savory, salty or spicy is way more my vibe. So if anybody wants to bring us something of that,
like, you know what you would love? Brian makes this buffalo chicken dip, and he makes it super spicy with leftover grilled chicken, like smoked chicken. It is delicious.
I got these at the gas station the other day. You know how they have like the edamame, but it's just like the actual, what is that, a bean, a pot, whatever it is.
Yeah, the beans.
The little bean, but they're like different flavors they have. And so they're kind of crunchy because I'm guessing they like deep fry them or something.
So not steamed.
Roasted or something like that. And so they have a little crunch to them, but they have a bunch of different flavors. And they had a buffalo one.
Yum.
And I'm addicted to them now. They're so delicious.
And that's healthy for you.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what we need. Some edamame as well. All right, let's get it to Bussin' with the Boys, the podcast with Will Compton and Taylor Lewan. Travis Kelce was on it, and this does feel like one of the first times that Jacksonville is getting mentioned in the offseason as much as we are, the Jaguars are. And so certainly yesterday we played the sound from Josh Hines-Allen on with Rich Eisen, and then Tony Khan was also on with Rich Eisen. Rich Eisen, I feel like, does talk about the Jaguars a decent amount as far as the national people. But to hear Travis Kelce talk about a Jaguar in the offseason, to me, does not normally happen.
Yeah.
And so he was just talking about Travis Hunter playing on both sides of the ball.
Travis Hunter, man. Guy's really good.
Do you think he's going to be good in the NFL?
Hell
And that's
yes.
a hard question to ask because you're still active.
100%.
But like, what's the expectation of this
World-class
kid? All
athlete.
pro, both sides?
Both sides? See, that's the thing. I don't know how they're going to
It's crazy to
divvy it out. I don't know if because teams are going to be going after him.
Right. And
They're going to try and make his day. Yeah, they're going to try and make his day miserable.
Right. And he's got to go play the wide receiver and then turn around and basically be like high school where you just stand on the field the whole time.
Yeah.
And just wait for the game to be over.
Dude, if he plays corner, they're going to run deep balls at him all day. They're going to run the wide receivers, just take off on him all day just to try and get him tired.
Yeah.
I'm like, why wouldn't you just attack him that way?
But dude, watching him, so we went to Colorado, Nebraska, and you could just see like his aura, his attitude, like pregame, everything.
Juice.
He's got the juice and he plays.
Yeah.
He loves football.
I saw him play basketball and I was like, oh yeah, he's
An athlete.
he's an athlete.
Do you think
He'll
he could
figure
throw
it
a
out.
pitch?
Right now, yes. Later, once he hits like 30,
shoulder.
35.
Maybe a surgery.
It's over.
No.
30 to 35. But I think a guy like him, like, if he makes, I don't think he has to make a Pro Bowl to not be a bust. I don't think he has to.
No.
If he's solid on both sides of the ball and plays all the snaps, like I feel like that's something we've never seen before.
Jacksonville.
And there you have it. So again, Travis Kelce joining the boys, Will Compton and Taylor Lewan on Bussin' with the Boys, that podcast. Taylor, yes, he's a fantastic athlete. I think even if he is playing both sides of the ball and they're trying to attack him the way Travis Kelce said and make him run even more, with the different post patterns and things like that, like I still think he's going to be okay. To me, the biggest question is because he's a slighter guy, like he's a slighter build, can he withstand the hits?
Yeah, on both sides.
Right. And now the receivers are bigger and certainly the corners are bigger.
Yeah. I do have a little bit of concern about the wearing out part of it. Maybe not in the first 4 or 5 weeks, but down the stretch when you really need it. And if you're trying to win games and you've now played 15 games, we already see normal players getting tired just playing one side of the ball. Jarian Jones talked about it, granted, hopefully the defense isn't bad to where that people are having 9, 10, 11 play drives on you.
Or more.
More, yeah. And so hopefully that changes, which is a factor into it. And if you're getting more interceptions and forcing getting those passes defended, stuff like that.
Force a
that
3 and
helps.
out instead of your offense being the one that's always doing the 3 and outs. Yeah.
So, and granted, so we're hoping that changes. But Jarian mentioned last year when you do have those 8, 9, he mentioned specifically 9-play drives. So he's like, if you're on the field for 9, it's a 9-play drive. You're exhausted. You get to the sideline, and then next thing you know, the offense turns the ball over, and you're right back out there. That wears you down really quickly, and so. Doing that on both sides now, you're asking him to do, and you're asking him to do that for 17 weeks at least. That's not counting the playoffs. I am a little concerned about the wear down of it and how long how much he can actually do that. Are we going to get to a point in the season where they have to kind of take some of that away? And that's why we're going to keep having this conversation until we actually see how everything kind of plays out and what they do situationally and all of those things. It's going to be a conversation. And I think every week it's going to be a conversation. Every week we're going to say, okay, this is an opponent. These are their strengths. Where is Travis Hunter most beneficial in this specific game? And so I do think it's going to be more of that, at least this year, than it is.
I hadn't even thought about, sorry to interrupt, I hadn't even thought about him towards the end of the season. I think I'm so fascinated by
just seeing it.
Seeing it in both in training camp, preseason, of course, and then when we get to the regular season, the first few weeks, how it shakes out. I hadn't even thought about his level of basically at that point in time, the muscle breakdown or muscle endurance, depending on how you look at it.
And Coach Campo was talking about it, and I mentioned this on the show during OTAs, where Coach Campo said that's why so many rookies hit walls anyways, is because it's going to be almost a year of him going, like from college football ending to combine to mini camp to OTAs to training camp to now 17 games at least if you're not in the playoffs. And so he's going to, that's a lot on a body, especially a body who's not very big. It's a smaller, lean body. You're going to be taking a lot of hits on both sides of the ball. You're going to be tackling some big wide receivers. And so I do think that I have a little bit of concern of that wear. Not right away. I think that in the first 3-4 weeks, you'd be like, oh, he can do everything. He can do it all the time. But I do see that hitting a point where you're going to have to be more strategic with it at some point.
I also hadn't thought about the fact that he may not make a Pro Bowl because he's really good at both. That should almost be a different category. Yes, he may not be a top, say, 15 receiver or maybe a top 15 corner. I think he will be.
Yeah.
But you then, I feel like, should have a separate Pro Bowl for the guy playing
doing both
offense and defense.
Well, and I do think the Pro Bowl is voted on by fans. So
I really
a
don't
portion
care about
of
the
it.
Pro Bowl. Yeah.
I do think that if Travis Hunter doesn't make a Pro Bowl in the first few years, then I think there would be disappointed people here, because I don't think he has to be a top 10 wide receiver and a top 10 corner, because if he's doing both sides of the ball, that's going to be getting attention enough. And that's what gets Pro Bowl votes nowadays, as the fans just knowing who you are and liking you as a player. And Travis Hunter clearly has that personality that is going to be likable in that sense. And if he's making plays in any form or fashion, I don't even know if he has to have 1,000-yard season and multiple picks. If he's doing both and he is making plays and making impact on both sides of the ball in any way, I think that's going to grab attention from people around the league.
Yeah, people are if that's the case, if people are going to tune in to Jaguars games that have maybe never tuned in before unless the Jags were playing their team, it is going to be appointment viewing for fan bases outside of Jacksonville if he is able to play at a high level on both sides of the ball. I keep going back to the fact, like we've said, they told us, the new regime told us that they're going to start him at receiver and then certainly mix him in at corner on situational downs. And then we had James Gladstone say, well, I think there's a misconception out there that he's a receiver first and then a corner. And so at the end of the day, I think most naturally he is a corner, but they're pouring so much resources into him as a receiver. As we've talked about, he's down in the Bahamas with De'Ami Brown, with Brian Thomas Jr., with Brenton Strange, and the list goes on, Cephas, and of course, Trevor Lawrence. I feel like the expectations are getting higher and higher as we move along. I think they were trying to originally keep those expectations down a little bit. We're going to mix them in slowly. And every day that goes by with people around the country talking about Travis Hunter, those expectations are launched even further.
Yeah, and I think James Gladstone also, in a way, you have to kind of say that because you gave up a lot for him. So you can't let this mindset of people being like, you just gave up a lot of picks to trade up in the draft for a wide receiver. You can't let people think that is what's happening. So he kind of has to justify the draft capital he gave away, moving up for that, the kind of all of the drama of it. He wants to keep that. The reason we did that is because we have a player that can play both sides of the ball. So I do think he's kind of defending himself in that area. Also Travis, because he wants to, you want to defend your players as much as possible and let them know that you have the confidence that they're able to do what they say. And Travis Hunter has been very vocal about that. I heard last night Hacker had Garrett, I'm trying to remember the last name. He works for CBS, I believe it was. But he was on, and he was the one that asked, he asked the question to Travis Hunter, would you rather retire or be told you can't play both sides of the ball? And he said, I'd rather retire. Like, that's how much he cares about being able to do both sides. And so obviously, I think Travis Hunter is also one of the guys that will do what he's asked. So I think his way of him saying that is just like, I have the confidence in myself that I could do both. But I also think that if Liam Cohen's like, we really need you on the offense because Trevor Lawrence needs you, he would say, okay, like, I will do what you need to win more football games. That's his point. He wants to win. He wants to be I'm sure he has that legacy mindset too.
Garrett Podell, by the way.
Podell, yes, Garrett Podell. And so I do think it's going to be, and we've said this a million times, but it's going to be one of the biggest storylines in the NFL just because nobody's seen it.
And we will get to see it later this month, which is even more exciting. All right, on the other side, we're going to chat about the Browns quarterback situation with a friend of the program, Mary Kay Cabot. She does such a fantastic job up there in Cleveland, so we will chat with her on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
From the edge of your radio to the edge of your seat.
Showtime.
Feel the excitement of live play-by-play
And this place is rocking right now.
on 1010XL.
Are you 18 years or older, just got married, just got divorced, or have children? Listen up. Have you done your last will and estate planning? If you have questions, call Matt Hinson with the Hinson Law Firm. Reach him at 527-1700, offices Jacksonville, Florida. And don't let the state decide your fate.
Your yard starting to look a little like a jungle? Well, it might be time for a little TLC. Or how about RTC, Russell Tree Care? At Russell Tree Care, they give your trees the perfect haircut. Whether it's trimming or removing, they'll make sure your yard looks its best, all while keeping safety as a top priority. Call Russell Tree Care today and let them take care of your trees. Russell Tree Care, 844-4Mr. Wood. That's 844-467-9663. Or visit RussellTreeCareLLC.com today. Your trees will thank you.
Your AC's broke, it ain't no joke. Call Florida Home AC. Florida Home AC. Florida Home AC. Florida Home AC. FloridaHomeAC.com.
Helmets and Heels.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Mia here, and I love my custom closet from Closets by Design. With summer in full swing, having my warm weather wardrobe front and center is a game changer. No more digging for the right outfit on a hot day. If your home needs a summer refresh, whether that be a closet, a garage, or a pantry, schedule a free in-home consultation with Closets by Design. And the offer has been extended, folks. Receive 40% off plus an additional 15% off. And free installation on any order of $750 or more. Visit closetsbydesign.com.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
It's the blog players put their pads on for.
So we got to bring
My thoughts and observations on our home team. That's what I share with you every week on my blog.
Roland Reach Plumbing brings you Hayes Blog on 1010XL.com.
Hey, Hicken here for my friends at Zero Res. Man, I love the cleaning freaks. This week only, we salute the 4th. Zero Res offering 25% off all services. That's right, a 4th off for the 4th. Through the end of this week, so book it now, man. Schedule your appointment at ZeroResJacksonville.com or call 287-5727 and ask for the 1010XL special. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It spells the same. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
Maxed out on credit cards, struggling with high interest debt? You could pay it all off in days with Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan. Hey, it's Prosser here. Get cash out now without touching your low-rate first mortgage. No appraisals, no waiting, no BS. The Rapid Equity Loan Program at Loan Pronto is amazing. One Loan Pronto client just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours. They paid off debt, renovated their kitchen, and cut their monthly expenses by $1,800. That's a huge turnaround. Instant approvals, low rates, no hard credit pull up front. That's Loan Pronto. Listen, your home equity is yours. Use it. Get cash to consolidate your debt down to one easy, low monthly payment. Call Loan Pronto now for a free instant appraisal for your home and see how much cash you can get today. Loan Pronto is an A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and have nearly 2,500 five-star Google reviews. Call now and start the conversation. Go to loanpronto.com or call 999-1508. That's loanpronto.com.
Hey, Hicken here. Tired of glasses or contacts? Discover customized vision solutions at Bowden Eye & Associates. Dr. Bowden's team offers cutting-edge options like EVO implantable Collamer lenses or refractive lens exchange and classic LASIK, designed to fit your life. Picture perfect vision for reading, driving, or just enjoying the day. It's easier than you think. Call now for your free screening. Bowden Eye & Associates, they're keeping the First Coast focused.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. Call 904-722-1111.
Instant Keys saves the day if you've lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call Instant Keys, 722-1111.
Reclaim a pain-free life with Rebound Rehab. If you've been injured or simply feeling the effects of an active life, you can rely on Rebound Rehabilitation to get you back in the game. Sitting on the sidelines isn't any fun. Trust Rebound Rehab's team of trained physical therapists to get you back up to speed and feeling full again. Now more convenient than ever. 11 locations to serve you, including new offices in Riverside across from St. Vincent's, Point Meadows, and Middleburg. Just log on to reboundrehab.com to see all they've got to offer.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line.
Hello.
Your floor's missing piece.
Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you, and friend of the program, Mary Kay Cabot, Browns beat writer, the Cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer, joins us now to talk Browns quarterbacks. Mary Kay, I know you're on vacation, so thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, sure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, so we'll get right to it. There are 4 quarterbacks competing for the starting spots, not even mentioning Deshaun Watson, who's there, but has, of course, that injury. So from what you've seen so far through the offseason, who do you think is QB1 as we sit here today?
Well, I think that it will come down to either Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco. I think it's going to be a tall order for one of those 2 rookies to come up the learning curve quickly enough to nail down that starting job by week 1. Not impossible, but I think it will be really tough. So I think it's going to be either Joe or Kenny, and I think it will come down to between those 2 guys, if Kenny can go out there and really be ready to play fast and not think and do all the things that they know that he can do or believe that he can do, I kind of think that they would prefer to go with Kenny just because you can do so many different things with him in the offense because of his mobility. But then Joe, of course, brings to the table the explosives, and there's a lot to be said for those big chunk plays. So they each have their redeeming qualities, and I think those 2 will duke it out for the rest of the summer.
So, Mary Kay, if that is the case, then I'm guessing a Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders are not on the roster that week 1. Of those 2, what do you think happens with them? Is it a trade? Is it just a parting of ways? How would you expect that to look?
No, I think all 4 quarterbacks are probably going to make the roster. I really do. Those 2 young guys are developmental projects, and the Browns are definitely going to want to keep them around, work with them some more, develop them, and see what they have. And then when you move into next year, they've got those 2 first-round picks, of course, from the blockbuster Jacksonville trade, the second one from Jacksonville. And so they are poised to take a quarterback in the first round next year. I think they're going to do it regardless of how the rookies look, because why not? If you have assets like that, you may as well draft the best position on the football team. So I foresee them doing that. But in that scenario, then you would have two young developmental quarterbacks that were drafted this year, and then your potential quarterback of the future next year.
Mary Kay, the Jaguars and the Browns, of course, made that trade. The Jaguars moved up from 5 to 2 to get Travis Hunter. How disappointed were Browns fans that he wasn't their selection?
They were very, very, very disappointed because it's hard to look out to next year and really see, oh, hey, now we see what they're doing with this. We see that they could be poised to take one of the best quarterbacks in a really rich quarterback draft. People want instant gratification. As Dylan Gabriel pointed out recently, not about this topic, but about just anything in general, that we sort of live in that Amazon microwave society where we kind of want everything now. And, it's hard to wait a little bit. And I think fans were really, really excited about Travis Hunter and what he could bring to the table here. So now people have to wait a little bit, but by the same token, they got a lot out of that trade for this year too in Mason Graham, and they ended up getting Quinshon Judkins and Dylan Sampson.
Yeah, that was a lot of the conversation here, Mary Kay, of just the trade value. And when it comes to those type of trades, you don't really know the winners or losers until years down the road because of the picks that are coming. But that talk about Mason Graham a little bit. That obviously was a name linked to Jacksonville for a long time at that pick 5 before the trade up. It kind of seemed like that week it was Mason Graham or Ashton Jeanty were the two names that were being linked to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then obviously with that trade, the Browns ended up getting him. What did you see out of camp? What was kind of the word on Mason Graham during the OTAs?
Well, during OTAs and minicamp, you can't really get a good handle on what those linemen are going to be all about. So I'm really looking forward to training camp and seeing what he can do there, seeing what he can do in some of those joint practices against Carolina, against the Eagles, and, of course, seeing him in those preseason games, because that's when we'll really get a good feel for it. He looked good. He moved well. He did the things that they were asking him to do, but you just can't gauge much from these kinds of practices for a player like that. The thing with Mason Graham that he has to get figured out, and he will, it's a pretty easy assignment or a straightforward assignment, and that is get to the quarterback, move forward in a hurry. And if he's able to do that, then he really will be rushing the passer like they want him to do. They want that interior rush from him, and they expect to get it, even though this was not something that he really focused on in college.
Mary Kay, the Travis Hunter disappointment aside, the new stadium is now been improved. The fact that you don't have Deshaun Watson as the starting quarterback this year, which obviously Browns fans have not liked him now for a while. And of course, Myles Garrett's still on the Browns, even though he had said he wanted to leave. But of course, they signed him to that long-term extension. This has to be kind of the most excitement that's been surrounding Cleveland in a while.
Well, I would say that, there have been those years in recent years as well. There have been a lot of years where they were expected to do really well. Even last year at this time, we were talking about, will they be able to challenge for the Super Bowl? Deshaun Watson was coming off of a fractured shoulder, and people thought that maybe they were really going to be able to put it together this year. They had all their pieces in place. They had transformed the offense to try to maximize his skill set, and it just didn't work out. So there have been plenty of other seasons where there was a lot of hype around the Cleveland Browns. This year, the expectations are fairly low. I mean, the over and under is pretty low. I can't remember what it is right now, but people are not expecting very much from the Browns this year, at least on a national basis. No one really has them making the playoffs. They have a very, very tough schedule. But I think if they get good quarterback play, they can make a little noise and keep things interesting through at least November.
Mary Kay, a double kind of a two-sided question for this one, because one of the bigger things is Nick Chubb making his way over to Houston. So that running back room in Cleveland looks quite different. You just mentioned the Quinshon Judkins and Dylan Sampson being added, Jerome Ford in that room also. So start with just that running back room, how different it looks, the expectations there, but also what to expect with Nick Chubb coming off of this injury and kind of what that could look like in Houston.
Well, first of all, we'll start with the Browns' new running backs. It looks really good. They have a really nice 1-2 punch with Quinshon out of Ohio State, and then with Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. And those guys look really good. Quinshon is sort of the Nick Chubb replacement, the big, powerful, explosive guy. And then Dylan is your change-up, shiftier, smaller back who can catch the ball out of the backfield. And so it really is going to provide just a nice change of pace situation, and they will run the ball a whole lot more this year than they have in the past, or at least that they did last year. Now, in terms of Nick Chubb, just watching Nick Chubb work out all offseason and watching him just, do high hurdles and just run and lift and squat almost 600 pounds or 500 pounds or whatever it was, I just think that he is going to be ready to run through a wall. I think he's got something to prove. I think that this is the first time he's ever been told by a team that they don't really want him anymore. And so I think he's just going to go out there and go gangbusters, and it'll be very fun to watch.
Mary Kay, final question. Do you believe that Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, is on the hot seat?
I really don't, because the Browns right now, once again, are looking at their quarterback situation as a 2-year plan, and they might not have their guy in the building yet. And you cannot expect a coach to go out there and win consistently without their starting quarterback or their franchise quarterback. So, no, I don't think he's on the hot seat.
All right. Well, we really appreciate your time and enjoy your vacation.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Really interesting stuff there, Taylor. So she believes
quarterbacks.
They're going to carry 4 quarterbacks. My guess is
somebody on the
she
practice
believes
squad
on the roster though, so that's not practice squad. My guess would be that they're going to put one of those guys on the practice squad.
Yeah.
But for people who don't know, the moment that you do that, any other NFL team can acquire them, sign them to their active roster, and you lose that quarterback.
Because you also have Deshaun still too, so technically you're carrying.
I would assume
5.
he's on IR, so I would think that he doesn't count against the 53.
Is he? Are they not
projection.
expecting him at all this year?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I think this is an entire year off, for him. And so
it's wild.
If you keep 4 quarterbacks, of course, that means you have to go from maybe keeping 10 offensive linemen to 9 or, 5 safeties to 4, 4 running backs to 3, it just depends.
Some rosters don't even like having 3 quarterbacks on there because of the space it's taking.
Right, because they can have that, they can pull the emergency quarterback up on game day. But look, she's one of the best beat reporters in all of the country in general, and then also, of course, has been now covering the Browns for a long time. So if she says it, I believe it. It just is surprising for me to hear.
Yeah, same. I was not expecting that. I was expecting we'll see through camp of Shedeur or Dylan, and one of them will pull away, and the other one will be gone. And we get to that time of year too. If there is an injury, Lauren, like let's say somebody does lose one of their quarterback in camp, are they interested in one of those guys? And with the Browns budge and that, I wouldn't expect them not to. I mean, you didn't spend high draft capital on these guys. And I know for the future, you're like, okay, cool, you have 2 options. But I think that through camp, if somebody calls and is like, hey, we'll give you something for one of these guys, especially the way that Shedeur fell, if somebody calls and offers you anything, do you really say no to that?
I would imagine that, let's say it's like a Joe Burrow that went down and the Bengals need a quarterback. I would think the Bengals would then try to get one of the 2 more veteran guys to come into their system, because going as a rookie from one offensive playbook to another and you've never done this before. Yeah, I would imagine it would be one of the other 2 guys, like Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco. But at that point, why would, if that's one of their starting quarterbacks, why would they at any point in time be willing to trade them?
Yeah, and that's what I'm picturing. Maybe more of like, let's say the Raiders, Geno Smith goes down. I don't even know who their backup quarterback is right now. Who is Martin
we know
Minshew
it's not
still?
Gardner Minshew because he's with the Chiefs.
So where he is.
He's in the long line of former Jaguars quarterbacks that are with the Chiefs.
So let's say Geno goes down though, and their backup quarterback comes in and he is starting, but they need somebody behind him.
Aiden O'Connell, by the way.
O'Connell, okay. And so then they make that phone call, because then there is that possibility of, okay, we'll have this backup quarterback that comes in, but then we have a young guy that we can start to develop behind this person, this other player. And so more of a situation like that. Like if Joe Burrow goes down, you're probably not going to want to call Dylan Gabriel. Sorry.
Right. And I feel like you also don't, though, want to get rid of either of your 2 young quarterbacks unless you've seen them be just absolutely awful so far.
Or one pull away is what I'm thinking. Like if one of them are very much outplaying the other quarterback, and not saying like whatever, maybe they're just picking up the offense better, or there's connections with them and the receivers a little bit more, and you are like, okay, Dylan Gabriel really looks like he's ahead in the playbook and everything other than Shedeur, and someone makes that call. you know that Shador name at least is something that's going to be talked about. And that's just obviously a big hypothetical because we don't know what that's going to look like. But it will be fascinating because I just think that I truly was not expecting the Kenny Pickett part of that conversation.
Well, you know that I'm not a preseason fan in the NFL whatsoever. I think it's for the most part, it's either a waste of time or guys get injured that you were counting on for the season. But I will tell you, I am going to be locked into the Browns preseason. They kick off their preseason on August 8th with the Carolina Panthers. Okay, I lied. I'm going to be at a concert that night. But
love a quarterback a quarter.
But I will record that. And then the next day, maybe a quarterback a quarter. The next day, I'll go back certainly and watch it. And then August 16th, they face the Eagles in the second preseason game. And then finally, they conclude the preseason with the Rams on August 23rd. That is going to be really interesting. Of course, we'll get reports from training camp ahead of that. And the Browns social media does a good job of keeping us up to date. But if I'm a Browns fan, I was surprised by her answer that last year they were talking about the Browns being mentioned to make the Super Bowl. But I feel like Browns fans have just been so disgusted over the fact that Deshaun Watson came there and got that $230 million guaranteed contract that now with this new stadium, even though it is going to be indoors and not everyone's thrilled with that. But the fact that Myles Garrett, who had publicly said, I'm going to play for someone else, or I certainly want to. The fact that he's still a member of the Browns and the fact that they do have at least some quarterback options, I thought this would be, a new chapter, so to speak. But apparently Browns fans had really high expectations last year that I did not have for them.
They've been hurt a lot, like people in this city. And it is interesting. You don't really like to hear her little note on Nick Chubb. She expects him to come in and be... That's not what you want to hear from because if he's even 80% of what Nick Chubb is, you're getting a very dangerous player.
You got that right, who now plays, like Taylor said, for the Texans, so in the Jaguars division. All right, we've got more to do on the other side. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Some people can't handle the truth.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled.
Some people only want the truth.
You want answers? I want the truth.
Rick Ballou.
And the truth.
The Truth Teller.
Shall set you free.
Evenings on 1010XL.
When it comes to towing products, your safety is the priority at Cannons of Jacksonville. Cannons has decades of experience to ensure your towing setup is installed with precision and reliability. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, your trusted partner for a smoother tow.
This summer, you can beat the heat at Best Bet, your premier poker destination. Whether you're a seasoned pro or a first-time card player, you'll find a cool retreat from the summer heat with thrilling games, big payouts, and refreshing drinks. Join us for an unforgettable experience. Cool off and cash in at Best Bet. The stakes are high, the cards are hot, and your chance for fun is guaranteed. Visit bestbetjacks.com to learn more. That's bestbetjacks.com.
Life is just so busy this time of year. Between work, the kids' games, family vacations, I need a yard hero to free up my weekends.
You mean somebody who does mowing and trimming?
Yeah.
How about mosquito control?
Yeah.
What about irrigation and pet waste removal?
You do that too? You're my lawn hero.
Find your lawn hero at heroeslawncare.com. Heroes Lawn Care, because every lawn needs a hero.
It's a Helmets and Heels Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Right now, they're on their way to disrupt your life, make you uncomfortable, and rob you. Don't bother calling the police. They can't help. That's right. Summer heat and humidity are about to attack North Florida again. You know what to do. Call Mike Merritt. Mike Merritt's Heating and Air has a license to chill. When heat and humidity are attacking you, Mike Merritt provides a comfortable chill at a bargain price. Mike has been keeping North Florida comfortable for 30 years. Mike Merritt technicians are never paid commissions, meaning you'll never be pressured to buy something you don't need. And Mike Merritt knows cooling issues can arise anytime. They don't just happen during business hours. So Mike Merritt never charges overtime fees. When you need us, we're here for you. Remember, in the fight against heat and humidity, Mike Merritt has a license to chill. Visit merrittair.com. Florida license number CACO 50384.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at StanleyPoolsFL.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On July 2nd, 1995, the LA Dodgers pitcher Hito Nomo was named the first Japanese player to be selected in an MLB All-Star game.
Hey, Jacksonville, need a fence and ready to save? At Superior Fence and Rail, you'll lock in 5% off your fence project when you sign by the end of July. A limited time offer for savings and peace of mind this summer. Now accepting appointments for a free estimate. So act fast and get 5% off your entire fence project when you finalize by July 31st. Cannot be combined with other offers. New contracts only.
SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Been in a car crash? I'm local attorney Rick Alexander, and I've made it our mission at the Alexander Law Practice to listen to you so I can fight for the best possible result for you. I've been practicing over 30 years, and our team focuses on guiding you through the entire process. And because fees and reimbursement costs come out at the end of the case, I will never ask you to come out of pocket. For a free review, call 904-400-6600 or log on to alexanderlawpractice.com, Jacksonville.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville. You're on-road, you're off-road, now you're on the water. Greg, tell everybody what Coach and Honda is offering in the form of boats.
We've got the Honda boat, which is a great runabout fisherman. We've got the Coach boats. They're fantastic for getting out with a family. Nice lay-down beds, all with that legendary Honda motor on.
Check them all out. They're waiting for you. You can see how you can be on the water with Honda or with Coach pontoon boats. Cycles of Jacksonville on Atlantic near Regency.
Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org.
This 4th of July, Navy Mutual would like to salute Yogi Berra as our hero in sports. Berra, a 15-time All-Star with the New York Yankees, was also one of the thousands who stormed the beaches of Normandy. The Hall of Famer is considered one of the greatest catchers of all time.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. Thanks again to our friend Mary Kay Cabot for joining us. She does such a great job covering the Browns beat up there in Cleveland. By the way, this song, since we were talking food earlier, always makes me think of the Burger King commercial. They used it in some Burger King commercial a long time ago, and it was
I remember
I'll
that.
stop and
Very
melt with
vividly,
you.
yeah.
I used to love that Burger King had this like marinated chicken. I'm trying to think what it was. It was like a sub. And it had, not marinated chicken, it had meatballs. It was a meatball sub with marinara sauce. And it was, I don't know why Burger King created
always does
meatball
like
sub, but it was
random.
delicious.
Burger King it will always, they'll be like, oh, we're going to like try something. I remember they had tacos for a little bit of time. And then there was something else they added recently that I was like, it's not really a Burger King vibe, but you do it. Like, do what you need to do, whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever gets you through.
Yeah.
Taylor, I have a baseball stat that I wanted to run by you. And because of your team and Nico Horner, and then certainly there are some other guys in the league that have also improved. Gleyber Torres is one of these people who used to strike out a ton and have brought their strikeout percentage down. So while strikeouts remain a scourge to the old school eye, it may be safe to declare that the era of bottomless whiffs is over. So that's just a fancy sentence of saying we might have gone past the peak of the strikeout era.
Yeah.
Major League teams are striking out 8.26 times per game, the lowest rate since 2017, and a 6% decrease from 2019. That 2019 season had the highest strikeout rate of all time, which was 8.61 per game, accompanied by the most home runs in Major League history, 6,776. As we know, 2019 is when we had the introduction of the juiced baseball, so it made sense as to why we saw so many of the long balls. But I absolutely love that now we've kind of had a course correction and we're going back to guys making contact with the ball. Like thank you. Some base hits. It doesn't always have to be a home run or a strikeout.
Yeah, and I do think it's a combination between that and also just plate discipline. I think for so long it was because they were trying. They just were trying to launch it. Yeah, because they were just trying to crush it and hit it out all the time that it started turning into. They were swinging at things they definitely shouldn't have been swinging at. And so I do think that we're also seeing this world where I've heard Daniel Murphy talk about this a lot. My brother, obviously, who's a pitching coach too, he talks about a lot of pitchers now, they can pitch 100. So they don't have as many different pitches in their pocket that they can kind of come out and do. It's just a lot of fastballs. So I think because of that, these guys are, as long as you can keep up with the 100-mile-per-hour ball and you make contact with a 100-mile-per-hour ball, it's going somewhere. And so I do think
that a lot of foul balls and to your point, a lot of runs.
So I think that factors into. I think there's so many things now that we're seeing that are correlating to this offense coming back to being more than just, hey, let's launch it out and let's hit as many home runs. And I know it felt for a while that the Major League Baseball as an organization, as a whole, the league wanted to see those. And then I think they started seeing that was hurting certain teams, because if you weren't having Ohtanis and Judges and these guys that can hit those home runs like that, then they weren't scoring runs. And so then you were having issues, and people were like, okay, well, why are we having all these 2-1 baseball games when we're seeing that number of home runs kind of go up? But it's because they were hitting single home runs, and you weren't seeing these like grand slams and stuff like that.
And nobody's on base.
Yeah.
That's why it's all solo home runs, because nobody can get on base.
Yeah. And so it is interesting. I saw another stat on kind of correlated to the same thing, and it was the Major League Baseball team's batting averages as a team, 260, batting 260 or up as a team. And so it starts with 1998 is when the calculation for this specific one started. And this was at this point in time, it said through this time. So on June 17th is when this was posted. So at June 17th in 1998, 21 teams were batting 260 plus. This year, right now, one team is batting 260 plus. So it is interesting because we're seeing.
Is it the Yankees, Dodgers, Diamondbacks, any of those teams?
It is. I want to say, I actually looked. It's not the Cubs. I want to say it might be the Dodgers.
That would not surprise me.
Yeah.
Or anyone
I'll look
else.
real quick. But it was interesting. But you can see it progressively. So in 1998, there was 21. I'll just go through. So it starts at 1998. 21, 25, 24, 22, 18, 21, 23, 20, 25, 23, 21, 19, 12. In 2011, this is when you start to see this drastic change. So it'd be interesting to talk to someone like Daniel Murphy and maybe see what started happening in that time frame. But in 2011, it goes down to 8. And since then, it's been 8, 11, 10, 4, 9, 9, 9, 1, 8, 6, 3, 1, 3, 3, 1.
Okay, so one is not the outlier even in the last few years.
No, there's several of them, and several threes.
And it is the Dodgers who bat 262. You will never guess the team that has the second highest batting average. It's not the Cubs.
Yeah, no.
And the way I'm saying it should give you a hint as to the excitement in my voice.
Yeah, the Rays. And I looked the other day, and I remember the Rays were up there.
Because that's what, I mean, they do have guys that can hit home runs, like a Yandy Diaz, like a Jonathan Aranda, even the catcher, Danny Jansen, can hit home runs. But they do such a good job of getting on base. Guys like Chandler Simpson, who we've talked about, the rookie, even a guy like Jake Mangum, who's new to the team, like they just get on base. And then that, of course, enables you to have a much higher batting average, even though it has gone drastically down since 1998.
Yeah, the Cubs are third on that batting average list, which I'm not surprised about that either. From 1 to 9, they have a pretty solid lineup. And it's funny you mentioned Nico Horner, because Nico Horner was Dansby Swanson also. Dansby Swanson's someone who has struggled with when it comes to with striking out and swinging at things he shouldn't, and Nico Horner struggled with that too. Both of them have gotten better with their strikeout rates, but especially Nico Horner. Nico Horner when with runners in scoring position is batting like 420 or something like that. Wow. That to me is like the most disciplined you'll get out of a player at the plate when they need you and there's runners in scoring position and you have that high of a batting average. And so that's something that you've seen like slowly kind of progress through the time. And I think a lot of things factor. If you have a lineup where you feel comfortable in the spot you are and you know guys around you can get on base and can pull you in, like, obviously score runs, get those RBIs, things like that help. And so I do think that's I love listening to Daniel Murphy in the morning with them, because he'll say stuff sometimes where I'm like, I never would have thought that factored into these certain situational things, and they do. So baseball is wild, but it has changed so much, and I think that they pushed too hard for a while of home runs. We need all of these things. And then I think they started seeing that maybe the product wasn't what people wanted. And then they started changing, with the pitch clock and all of these things started, like, how are these affecting what is going on the field? Because you want runs scored, but you don't want runs scored just because one person keeps hitting a home run every now and then.
Right, for sure. By the way, Ryan O'Hearn is a player for the Orioles. He has a 295 average through 244 at-bats this season. And I mentioned him, by the way, the article that I read is in USA Today Sports, if you want to go read it. Gabe Lack, I don't know how to say his last name, but maybe Lack or Locke. Lacqueus, however you say that, Laquez. Either way, he does a great job. And like I said, he starts with Gleyber Torres and then runs through a few different guys. But Ryan O'Hearn, I feel like, is a name to keep an eye on because the Orioles right now are 37-48. So they're 11 games back of the Yankees. That AL East is constantly in flux of like who's going to overtake the top spot. The Yankees right now are the Blue Jays are a game back of the Yankees, and then the Rays are a game and a half back. So all three are in the mix there. But the Orioles, I would imagine, are going to be sellers at the deadline. And so that name to me is one to keep an eye on. Yeah, Ryan O'Hearn.
Yeah, the trade deadline is always in baseball. I feel like is one of the more wild,
way more fun.
Of most deadlines, and especially because baseball teams are. It's very vocal. Like right now, you're already hearing the teams that are like, okay, well, they're either losing or they're like right on that cusp. They don't think they're going to be able to win the division. So they're sellers. And you're already hearing that in the baseball world.
Yeah.
I feel like other leagues are so hush-hush about the possibilities of who wants to buy and who wants to sell. But owners in baseball are like, yep, we are going to add 2 pitchers during the like they'll tell you exactly what they want to do.
Which later this month, we're already in the month of July. July 31st, 6 p.m. Eastern is the deadline for Major League Baseball and the trades. And
it's crazy.
I can't believe it. That means that we are going to be without baseball here shortly as well.
Yeah, that's the worst week of of the whole year because it's usually right before training camp starts. It's like right after media days happen.
I have good news. This year, it's the week of SEC media days.
Oh, perfect. So we get at least some sort of content.
So talking season is going on this year up in Atlanta. So we'll get to hear from, of course, all of your favorite SEC head coaches and players. I would imagine this week or very soon, if not this week, then next week for sure, that we actually get the list of the players that are going because I still haven't seen that.
Yeah, usually they send that. I want to say around now is when we'll start finding that out. So it will be interesting because we've had conversations about some of the teams, SEC or just like local ones we've talked about right now of who they're going to be bringing. Are we going to see a Tommy Castellanos at the ACC ones? Is Carson Beck going to go? Like, what does all of this look like when it comes to the guys they're bringing and how much pressure does that add on some of these guys? Because I do think Carson Beck has to be one of the college football quarterbacks that we're talking about being under the most pressure.
Oh, absolutely. That we could have a whole 2-hour show on different football players, in whether it's college or pro, that are under a lot of pressure. And quarterbacks, of course, a lot of it falls squarely on their shoulders. The SEC Media Day schedule, as far as the coaches are concerned, on Monday we will hear LSU's Brian Kelly, Ole Miss's Lane Kiffin. He always has some fun stuff to say. South Carolina, Shane Beamer, and then Vanderbilt Clark Lee. On Tuesday we will have Auburn, Hugh Freeze, Georgia, Kirby Smart, and then both UTs are on Tuesday with Texas, Steve Sarkisian, and Tennessee with Josh Heupel. Yeah, and then Wednesday, Kalen DeBoer of Alabama, Billy Napier of Florida. Does anyone talk slower than Billy Napier at SC Media Days?
Probably
no. Mississippi State, and I'll come up with his name. Is it Jeff Lebby, Mississippi State head coach? I'll look at it in a second. I don't have the names in front of me. I'm just going off of my list of when the schools talk. And then Oklahoma also on Wednesday. And then Thursday you have Arkansas, Kentucky, Missouri, and one other team that I can't see right now.
I'm guessing we'll get some
Texas A&M.
I'm guessing we'll get some good cuts out of a guy like which I'm guessing they'll bring Diego Pavia would be my assumption.
After his comments, they better.
Yeah, because there's going to be a lot of things I'm sure coming out of that one. Which side note, real quick, because when going back to that bussin' with the boys, obviously we were talking about Travis Kelce was talking about Travis Hunter, and we talked about that. But if you listen to that interview, right after that, they start going into college football, and Travis Kelce, they're talking about Cincinnati, and I was just cracking up because Will Campbell was like, hold on, you said that you guys had it like a tough schedule last year, and he starts going through his schedule, and he's like, Pitt, Miami, Ohio, Houston, UCF, and Travis is like, okay, Houston was good last year.
Yeah, those guys are pretty funny. Yes, Jeff Lebby. I was correct off the top of my head. It is Jeff Lebby. And then, of course, Oklahoma, Brent Venables. Arkansas, Sam Pittman. Kentucky, Mark Stoops. By the way, Mark Stoops, some people think is on a hot seat.
Really?
Which I find fascinating because I feel like Kentucky football has been... Yeah, not championship level, not making it to the SEC championship.
It's still like competitive,
means, but better than it had been for a long time.
That is interesting. I feel like that's one of the schools which we have the conversations about college football and the NFL with that, where maybe they get a little impatient, and like I think expectations are higher when certain people are hired, and then if they don't hit those right away, people start to panic a little bit.
Yeah, which I think is the case for Texas A&M. Mike Elko taking over that program. They have such high expectations because they pour such amount of money in there. And then, of course, Missouri's head coach, Eli Drinkwitz.
Yeah, we know they have money out of Texas A&M.
That old money, you'd think it lasts forever, but it's certainly being poured into the program. The question is, are they turning that and translating those into wins? We shall see. All right, more to do on the other side. You want to talk some Miami football?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's talk some Canes since you just mentioned Carson Beck. We will chat with Adam Lichtenstein of the Sun Sentinel to talk all things Miami Hurricanes. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
We may have occasional disagreements.
What an idiot.
We might even argue once in a while.
I mean, it's so obvious.
But we're always a team.
We're all friends here.
1010XL.
I love this job.
Join the family fun.
Hey guys, Taylor Dahl here of Helmets and Heels. It's the little things like a peach milkshake on a warm day that makes summer sweet. And now you can head to your local Chick-fil-A and enjoy a favorite summer treat again. Hand-spun the old-fashioned way, their refreshing milkshake features Chick-fil-A ice cream and peaches. It's the perfect cold treat to enjoy outside on a warm day or with friends and family after dinner. And it's here for just a limited time, so swing by your local Chick-fil-A and treat yourself today.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold, silver, and diamonds from the public. Gold's recently hit an all-time high at over $3,000 per ounce. Pay bills, buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar, or trade it in for a new piece and get even more at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Mia here, and I love my custom closet from Closets by Design. With summer in full swing, having my warm weather wardrobe front and center is a game changer. No more digging for the right outfit on a hot day. If your home needs a summer refresh, whether that be a closet, a garage, or a pantry, schedule a free in-home consultation with Closets by Design. And the offer has been extended, folks. Receive 40% off plus an additional 15% off. And free installation on any order of $750 or more. Visit closetsbydesign.com.
Hey, Hickett here for my friends at Zero Res. Man, I love the cleaning freaks. This week only, we salute the 4th. Zero Res offering 25% off all services. That's right, a 4th off for the 4th through the end of this week. So book it now, man. Schedule your appointment at ZeroResJacksonville.com or call 287-5727 and ask for the 1010XL special. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It spells the same. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
When you're experiencing sudden, unexpected dental pain, the last thing you want to hear is that your dentist can't see you until next week. That's why I'm so glad I found Harbor Dental Care. Whenever I call, they always find a way to see me within 24 hours, and they can usually fix whatever's wrong the same day. Plus, they have locations throughout Jacksonville, so no matter what side of town I'm on, I can always count on the same great care. If you want to find a dentist who believes in treating people right, learn more at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, buddy. Why so glum? Stinky ice cubes, Jason. It's all downhill from here. What? The tap water at my place smells kind of funky. Funky tap water makes funky ice cubes. I meet a nice girl, invite her back to my place for a cocktail, and blow my whole romantic gesture with a mojito that smells like dog's feet. Wait, I can totally make you way cooler. I'm not taking your charity ice cubes, Jason. I have my pride. Your pride is safe. Our plumbers can be at your house the day you call and install a whole home water purification system. Water tastes better, dishes come out cleaner, even your hair feels better after you shower. Ooh, The ladies love a man with soft hair, don't they, Jason?
Life moves pretty fast. If you spend every day worried about the water in your own home, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Helmets and heels.
I'm Stacy, and I want to tell you about my fogged up window fiasco at my house. I called up Mac at Baker Glass. He told me all I needed was a glass replacement. The process was so easy. All within a few days, they came out, measured, called me with an estimate, cut my glass, and came out to install the new ones. Now my view outside is fog-free thanks to Mac and his crew at Baker Glass. And my neighbors think I got some fancy new windows.
I'm back with Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
This is your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update. I'm RJ Saunders for 1010XL. This update brought to you by the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. Florida State's 2025-2026 men's basketball schedule is starting to become more clearer. It has been announced that the Seminoles have entered into an agreement with the University of Dayton to play a home-and-home series in 2025 and 2026. The Seminoles will travel to UD Arena to play a game on December 16th of this year, and the Flyers will travel to Tallahassee for another matchup in 2026. The Orlando Magic have released their Summer League schedule. They will begin on July 10th against the Sacramento Kings, followed by a matchup with the Toronto Raptors on July 13th. They'll face the Thunder on July 15th and round it out against the Brooklyn Nets on July 16th. Right now, 87 degrees at 12:55. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
All right, we're going to continue our look around college football, and we've talked to several different schools at this point, just kind of trying to get some insight of what's going on right now in this down period. And now we are joined by Adam Lichtenstein. He's joined us several times before covering the Hurricanes for Sun Sentinel. So thank you so much, Adam, for hopping on with us yet again.
Thanks for having me again.
So let's start. We were just having a conversation, our last segment, that kind of led into Carson Beck, and that is going to be probably one of the bigger storylines down there in Miami after a little bit of a down year last year, coming off an injury, then kind of contemplating the NFL draft, deciding to head down south. So share a little bit. Number one, that injury, I think that's a big. What are you guys hearing with that UCL? Is he expected to be ready once the camp start, right before the season starts? And then just the vibes of Carson Beck, how we're feeling about that.
Yeah, we didn't really see him at all during the spring because he was still recovering from that UCL injury. He didn't throw at all during spring practice, didn't play in the spring game, but he was cleared to throw basically right after spring football ended. I think he started, taking part in like the player-led practices and that sort of thing. But what we did see during spring was, one, he was basically doing whatever he could that didn't involve throwing the ball. Literally, sometimes just, taking a snap to hand the ball off. But doing everything he could to learn the team, learn his supporting cast, take mental reps and all that. They spent all that time, working in the film room and stuff during spring, trying to just kind of play catch up or keep up with what everyone else was doing, learning Shannon Dawson's offense and everything after transferring in. So, by all accounts, things went well in the spring and have been going well through the summer. His teammates, they kind of raved about him. They kind of said he's a little bit different than Cam Ward, just maybe a little bit quieter and stuff in that, maybe not quite Cam Ward's personality. But, all the coaches, all the players basically gave him rave reviews during the spring.
Would you say, Adam, that it's college football playoff or bust this season as far as expectations for the 2025 Hurricanes?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you look at what they did last year. They were poised to make the college football playoff. They were, looking like the best team in the ACC. Rolled through their first, I think, 8 or 9 games. Then they lost to Georgia Tech. They lost to Syracuse on the road. That cost them their shot at the playoff and at the ACC title, which shockingly Miami's still never won an ACC title since joining the conference like 20 years ago. They miss out on that. They go to the Pop-Tarts Bowl, play the same kind of game that they played, the end of the season where the offense was rolling, but the defense couldn't stop anything. They end the year 10-3. And I think that kind of left a sour taste in everyone's mouth after what really, if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, was a good season and a big step for the program. Coming off, a 5-win season 2 years ago, 7 wins in 2023, to go to 10 wins and be on the verge of the playoffs is an improvement. But with the way the year started and with Cam Ward, the eventual number 1 pick and a Heisman candidate leading the number 1 offense in the country, you wanted a little bit more than 10-3 and, a bowl game loss. So I think now you bring in Carson Beck, who, like you said, bit of a down year last year, but still a NFL quality quarterback. You bring him in and you improve at other spots that were, lackluster last year. I think the expectation is you got to get to the college football playoff, take that next step this year.
Adam, let's look at the other side of the ball, because that was obviously one of the bigger concerns in Miami last year when it came to the defense and the secondary, especially. Virtually an all-new starting secondary, it looks like right now on paper, and then a new coach coming from Minnesota who had a really good year up there. So share a little bit about Mario Cristobal's approach this year on being able to kind of rebuild that defense and make it stronger, adding this DC and all of these players.
Yeah, like you said, they basically cleaned house on the defensive side of things. There's only one coach who, is still here from last year on the defensive side. That's Jason Taylor, who coaches, like the defensive ends and the edge rushers. New DC, new secondary coaches, new linebackers coach, and basically a whole new secondary. Only a couple guys kind of holding over from last year who saw significant playing time. So, yeah, they brought in a bunch of transfers. I literally have to, whenever I do a radio interview or anything, I have to keep a list of them in front of me just to make sure I keep everyone straight and try to remember everyone because there's so many guys. Xavier Lucas from Wisconsin, who, is getting them sued, but they're still excited to have him. Ethan O'Connor from Washington State. You've got Charles Brantley from Michigan State, Zachariah Poyser from Jacksonville State. Then in the spring, they brought in Jacoby Thomas from Tennessee and Keontae Scott from Houston. They brought in basically just a whole new secondary. The only 1 or 2 guys I think you're really going to see who played last year, guys like O.J. Frederick, who's a breakout freshman, and Damari Brown, who they expected a lot of, but he was hurt for most of the year last year. They're back, and they're joined by this whole new crew. And the thing is about a lot of these guys they brought in, they weren't just, they weren't riding the bench somewhere. These guys were starters at their old schools, and they came in to compete for starting roles at Miami. We already saw one transfer, Emmanuel Carnley, who came in for the spring and I guess probably wasn't going to, see a lot of playing time. He transferred out after the spring practice. So these guys came in. They're here to try to book the room. And I think I wouldn't be shocked if this unit, which was such a liability last year and was so thin at that position, if all of a sudden this year that this is one of the strengths of the team.
Yeah, I feel like that would definitely something that the Miami Hurricanes need. There were so many games last year where you'd watch and it was just Cam Ward making incredible play after incredible play, and then the defense would come out and you'd be like, oh no, now Cam Ward has to go back out there and make another incredible play. But talk about that loss that you mentioned with Xavier Lucas and obviously with Wisconsin. Share some details that you know about that. We talk about it on the show all the time, Adam, about how we know people are legally tampering all over. We know that's the college football world, and we've heard many stories. Unfortunately, when you get caught, it's not the ideal situation. But tell us a little bit about what is going down with that.
Yeah, I don't really know a lot of the details beyond what's already publicly known. I mean, the weird thing is, like you said, it happens all the time because, if you're a coach or if you're someone who's employed at, the University of Miami, you can't call Xavier Lucas while he's still at Wisconsin and say, hey, come to Miami if he's not in the transfer portal. But there's nothing stopping, someone from calling Xavier Lucas's uncle or something or, his friend and being like, hey, tell him he can come here if he wants. The rules are so loose, you can drive a truck through them. And then with the Xavier Lucas situation, specifically, it wasn't like a surprise that he wanted to come to Miami after leaving Wisconsin. He's from South Florida, went to American Heritage and Plantation. If I remember right, his dad was ill. So it wasn't a surprise he wanted to come be closer to home, and Miami wanted him because he's a talented player. They wanted him when he was in high school, too. I think it's a weird situation. And then when you throw in the rev share stuff where, he had signed contracts to, for a potential future revenue sharing contract, it's all weird stuff. You need to be a lawyer to sort it all out.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of my thought is let the lawyers figure it out. Like either they can figure it out and just whoever's going to play for whatever team, just let them play.
Yeah, it's funny because when the Lenore Sellers stuff, there was the report that came out that a school had offered him $9 million, and we were talking about it on air, and Lauren was like, wait, he never entered the portal. Like, why are we? So that was definitely some illegal tampering going on in that situation.
Yeah, it's all weird. Lucas, apparently he wanted to enter the portal. He was tweeting about it. He was like, I want to go in the portal, and Wisconsin's not letting me, which is also a violation of NCAA rules. So, it's like, just let people, if a player wants to leave, let them leave. If they want to stay, they'll stay.
Absolutely. Adam Lichtenstein with us from the Sun Sentinel talking Miami Hurricanes football. I'm going to read you a headline, Adam, and I want you to respond.
Oh, boy.
SMU's Tyler Van Dyke named amongst top NCAA backup quarterbacks. So for people who missed it, the former Miami, then former Wisconsin quarterback has landed at SMU, but he's still a backup with his final year of eligibility.
Hey, good luck to him. I covered him for 2 years. He's a good kid. Always, down to do interviews, a good interview. I wish him the best of luck. Last year ended so brutally for him with that ACL injury.
Mm-hmm.
I saw. He goes to SMU to reunite with the OC who recruited him, Rhett Lashley, like a lot of Miami players have done. I didn't know what they were going to do. I didn't know if he was going to be a backup, if he was going to compete for a starting role, because Kevin Jennings was so good for them last year at SMU. So good luck to him. If he gets some playing time, maybe he can catch on and continue his career somewhere. I really do. I hope the best for him. And I think a lot of rational UM fans, not the kind you always see screaming on social media, wish him the best of luck as well, except against Miami, because he gritted through. I know the 2 years I covered him, he gritted through and played through injuries that I think a lot of people would have ridden the bench for. He put his heart into his time in Miami.
Adam, when you talk about that offense and the pieces lost, we mentioned Cam Ward, but obviously several other ones when it comes to an Xavier Restrepo, Elijah Arroyo, Damian Martinez. Chat a little bit about those filling those spots with those guys leaving, and obviously the expectations of how quickly some of that can click with Carson Beck.
Yeah, you mentioned receiver and running back specifically. Running back, I'm not super concerned. They had some depth there already with guys like Mark Fletcher and Jordan Lyle. Should be a solid 1-2 punch. Fletcher's rushed for about 1,100 yards over the last 2 years primarily as a number 2 running back. So I think he kind of fills the void, takes over that bruiser spot as a number 1 back. And Lyle was really explosive last year, kind of as their number 3 running back. He rushed for 400 yards, I think, on 55 carries. And I think I just wrote about this last week, but he had, I think, about 7.5 yards per carry, which would have been second in the ACC among running backs who had 50 or more carries last year. So, an explosive type of running back who they liked a lot. They put them from Ohio State. So I think they're pretty good at running back. They brought in Shamar Brown as well from who was the top freshman at the FCS level. So they've got depth there. It's the receiver position that's the concern because they lost everyone. You have Restrepo going to the NFL, Jacoby George going to the NFL, Sam Brown Jr. going to the NFL, Isaiah Horton transfers to Alabama. So you have your top 4 receivers and additionally your number 1 tight end all leaving. So who's going to catch the ball? They got talent. They brought in 3 transfers. They brought in some talented young guys, talented freshmen. And the guys who they brought back from last year, I was actually just looking this up earlier this morning, all the guys who returned from last year's team, they didn't play much, but they're all former 4-star prospects. Guys like JoJo Trader, who I expect a lot from this year, he, was limited by not just the depth chart. He was, I think, a little banged up for most of last year. He kind of flashed a bit in the bowl game and had 3 catches for 60 yards and a touchdown. I think we're going to see a lot of him this year. Then you have guys like Ray Joseph, who was a 4-star out of Miami a couple years ago. He waited his turn behind Restrepo. He's a slot guy. Waited his turn behind Restrepo. I think he's going to get a chance to show himself, prove himself this year. And then guys like Chance Robinson and Nye Carr, who were four-star prospects who were, depth guys last year who might get a shot this year. And then they brought in the transfers, C.J. Daniels, who, was a 1,000-yard receiver at Liberty and was decent at LSU last year. I think he had like 40 catches for about 500 yards, give or take. They brought him in. He was limited for most of the spring, but they expect a lot from him. And then they brought in Tony Johnson, who had a decent season at Cincinnati last year. Like I said, there's so many transfers, like just trying to keep them straight is a challenge. But they brought in Tony Johnson and Keelan Marion, who were both productive at their old schools. So they've got talent there. It's a question of who turns that talent into production and who steps up and fills those voids.
Adam, which quarterback in the Sunshine State do you think has the most pressure? Do you think it is Carson Beck with Miami, DJ Lagway with Florida? Certainly both of those guys getting a lot of the Heisman favorites as far as odds are concerned. And then, of course, you've got Thomas Castellanos at FSU.
Well, apparently Thomas Castellanos thinks they're going to beat Alabama, so
Right.
I think he's putting the pressure on himself there.
Yeah.
I think he's doing that to himself. But I'd say probably Carson Beck because you look back a year ago and everyone's saying Carson Beck's the top quarterback in the nation, or one of them at least could go number one, overall, could be the top quarterback off the board, and then as a rough stretch. You look at his numbers, it wasn't like the worst season ever, but for what was expected of him. Not a good enough season. He comes to Miami. He's got, I think, 1 year eligibility left, so it's do or die this year. It's like you got to come back from the injury. There's expectations for the program. You got to get to the college football playoff. You've got to produce and get your name, back up there as one of the top quarterbacks in the country, so you can get drafted next year and continue your career in the best position. So I'd say, probably the most pressure is on him. DJ Lagway, I'm sure there's pressure on him, but this will be his first full year as a starter, and that's a gauntlet of a schedule again. So if they don't make the college football playoff, it's not the end of the world for Lagway or the Gators.
Adam, before we let you go, I want to pivot for just a second because down there in South Florida, you guys have also just recently celebrated a Stanley Cup, a back-to-back for the Panthers. But one of the things I feel like, I talked about this yesterday, the Panthers could teach some people some lessons, I guess, on number one, how to win, but also number two, how to keep the players that you want to keep, and them being able to re-sign Ekblad, Brad Marchand, and Sam Bennett, being able to lock all three of those guys for probably less than they would have made elsewhere. I feel like they could teach a lesson to some other teams around any of the leagues.
Yeah, and the thing about the Panthers, I covered them through the playoffs, and every coach in every sport's going to talk about culture and having good locker room, stuff like that. This team really does have that, and you see it because all three of those guys that you mentioned, they could have taken, like you said, they could have taken more money elsewhere. Marchand, I think, wanted $7 million and change, I think, from the Bruins, and he ended up taking a little over $5 million from the Panthers because he likes being down here, and he likes the culture on the team. He likes the locker room. He likes what the organization provides for them. And a million other things. Like this team, having grown up down here, I used to go to Panthers games for free. Nobody cared. And now they've built something. They've built a great core, a great nucleus, and they constantly supplement it with guys who they just get absorbed into this culture, and they love it, and they find that they produce well in it, in the environment and with the team. It's really, they've built something really special, and it's going to be this way for several more years because, this entire core is basically signed through 2030, so they're going to have more bites at the apple. This team could win by the time, these contracts start to expire in 2030, 2031. Who knows? This team could have 3 or 4 Stanley Cups to their name. It's really, they've built a juggernaut. And it's funny because we've been talking college football, but watching them through this playoff run, they reminded me of Alabama, of under Nick Saban, where it's like whatever style you want to play, we're going to play it, and we're going to do it better than you. You want to pass the ball, using football terms, you want to run the ball down your throat? Well, we can do that better. You want to, turn to the, air game? We'll pass the ball better than you. We'll play defense better than you. Anything that another team tries to do to the Panthers are happy to play that style, and they'll do it better.
It's funny because that was one of the things I said when the Stanley Cup final started, and I mentioned, I was like, they can play fast, they're great puck handlers, but if you want to kind of bully them, they'll bully you back. And we saw the game where there was 15 fights and they won all of them. And so when you needed them to do that, they could. But yeah, congratulations down there. It's been really fun to watch this Florida Panthers team, and we appreciate that chat, but also Miami talk. I'm sure we'll talk to you again before that Miami Notre Dame game week 1.
Of course, anytime.
All right. Thanks, Adam.
And there he goes. Adam Lichtenstein of the Sun Sentinel does a great job covering them. We do have a little bit of breaking news. The New York Knicks are expected to land two-time NBA Coach of the Year Mike Brown as the next head coach. If you don't remember, he was the coach of the Cavaliers for 5 years, 2005 2010, coach of the Lakers. So we'll get RJ's thoughts on the other side. 2011 2012, then back with the Cavs for a year, then with the Golden State Warriors as an associate head coach for a few years. Then most recently, from 2022 to 2024, the head coach of the Sacramento Kings. And Wikipedia is so fast it already says that he's 2025 the coach of the New York Knicks. So we will get RJ's reaction on the other side. Taylor Dahl also has a tangent. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Here's another look behind the microphone at 1010XL with Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser. Mornings on 1010XL.
What's with the rubber pants? Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MooreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Hey, Jacksonville, Hicken here. I've been around the block or two, and Checkmate Coatings is who I call for my own place. They're my new MVP for stunning, long-lasting floors.
Brendan here with Checkmate Coatings. No massive overhead means top prices on top-quality pool decks, driveways, garages, and patios, too.
Visit CheckmateCoatings.com today. Checkmate Coatings, your floor's missing piece.
Checkmate Coatings, your floor's missing piece.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Home is where your story begins. And at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, we're here to make it the healthiest, most comfortable place it could be. Whether it's fresh, clean air, dependable plumbing, or reliable power, we take care of it all. From routine maintenance to state-of-the-art solutions, Donovan keeps your home running smoothly. Because at Donovan, we believe your home isn't just where you live, it's where your health meets comfort. Call Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing at 904-270-COOL or visit us online. Let's make your home healthier, safer, and better together.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
If you need a game plan for the weekend, I'll tell you my takes for some of the weekend's best options. 1010XL's Dan Hicken here. Watch for Musings with the Media Mogul on YouTube and Facebook. Turned on by Tucker Equipment Rentals in Neptune Beach.
The Edwin Watts Golf Hour will meet you at the green.
Blue skies, fresh cut grass, birds chirping.
The Edwin Watts Golf Hour.
Grip it and rip it.
Get tips, tour notes, and the latest gear Saturday mornings at 10 on 1010XL.
Maxed out on credit cards, struggling with high interest debt? You could pay it all off in days with Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan. Hey, it's Prosser here. Get cash out now without touching your low-rate first mortgage. No appraisals, no waiting, no BS. The Rapid Equity Loan Program at Loan Pronto is amazing. One Loan Pronto client just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours. They paid off debt, renovated their kitchen, and cut their monthly expenses by $1,800. That's a huge turnaround. Instant approvals, low rates, no hard credit pull up front. That's Loan Pronto. Listen, your home equity is yours. Use it. Get cash to consolidate your debt down to one easy, low monthly payment. Call Loan Pronto now for a free instant appraisal for your home and see how much cash you can get today. Loan Pronto is an A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and have nearly 2,500 five-star Google reviews. Call now and start the conversation. Go to loanpronto.com or call 999-1508. That's loanpronto.com.
Life is just so busy this time of year. Between work, the kids' games, family vacations, I need a yard hero to free up my weekends.
You mean somebody who does mowing and trimming?
Yeah.
How about mosquito control?
Yeah.
What about irrigation and pet waste removal?
You do that too? You're my lawn hero.
Find your lawn hero at heroeslawncare.com. Heroes Lawn Care, because every lawn needs a hero.
Yo, it's your main man ET here for Explore Clay. And Clay County is your destination this 4th of July. Start the morning with the Freedom 5K in Keystone Heights. Medals for the first 300 finishers and a scenic course through the shaded neighborhoods. Then enjoy the 57th annual celebration at City Hall with vendors, live music, and family fun. Wrap up the day at Moose Haven in Orange Park for the American Pride 4th of July, a free Riverside event with food, live entertainment, and fireworks over the St. Johns River. Discover more at exploreclay.com.
If your ride is making strange noises, don't wait and make it worse. Come to Action Transmission on Merrill Road. My expert technicians can diagnose the problem and likely fix it fast. Experience the difference at Action Transmission on Merrill Road.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
It's beautiful, it's bittersweet, you like
Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. By the way, I heard Zach Top's brand new song, Good Times and Tan Lines, on country radio. So it already made it there. I'm so happy for him.
Oh, yeah.
Because that song is fantastic. And it reminds me of Alan Jackson, and I love me some Alan Jackson. All right, RJ, on the other side, or I should say in the other segment, I just told everybody that Mike Brown looks like he's going to be the next head coach of the Knicks. You are familiar with him as he was the head coach of the Lakers once upon a time. Your thoughts, please, sir.
You had no other choice. I mean, like, there weren't too many options in which the Knicks were giving themselves in terms of a head coach. I don't even think they interviewed a guy like Mike Malone, just to see if he would be interested in being a head coach. I really do believe they thought that this job would really create some sort of intrigue with a lot of potential head coaches. Now, I mean, the way they also went about this with trying to ask teams who already had head coaches signed to a contract that, like, hey, can we interview your guy and try to steal him? The Knicks are going to nick, I guess.
Is he better than who they had with Tom Thibodeau?
Yeah.
Like, is he better than Tibbs?
No, like that's the thing. I mean, anything short of a NBA Finals, I think unfairly to him. I think anybody's going to view if he doesn't make it to the NBA Finals with this group, and they're making a few signings in terms of Jordan Clarkson. I think they inquired about Ben Simmons. I don't know what to make of the Knicks right now in terms of this hiring. I think this is his fifth landing spot. Maybe he hits his stride, fifth time's the charm. But as of right now, it's like, well, yeah, he was the favorite because you guys really didn't have a lot of options that you gave yourself. So, I'll pull for the Knicks, but
you don't have to.
The pulling is very, very gentle. It's a very gentle pull.
It's just by quick Twitter search of Mike Brown. It's a lot of people are pretty much saying it's the same. Like, you're staying on the same level, not technically a downgrade, but definitely not an upgrade, because all the memes are just like the one where it's the Simpsons guy and he walks in, puts a hat on, walks out, and then just keeps going back in same person. But Dan Greenberg was like, Mike Brown is a good coach, but firing Tibbs just to hire Brown seems like doing something just to do it as opposed to actually improving.
Yeah, and when the players, were upset about it, it just seems like an odd thing. But yeah, we will watch and see. To RJ's point, as far as if they don't make the finals, then they're not going to be happy up there in New York. All right, time now for Taylor's Tangent.
Now, Taylor's Tangent, served up by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
I saw a chart. This is on Football Insights. They're really good. If you do not follow them on Twitter, it's a good follow just because they do a lot of the analytical side and it breaks it down in different chart forms and things like that. So it's kind of cool to see. But
I love spreadsheets. You love charts.
Yes, definitely. And it's easy. Like my eyes just can understand certain aspects of things sometimes. And these charts aren't everything. You have to take them for a grain of salt a little bit, because sometimes they'll post and I'm like, no way that actually transferred to like what was happening on the football field. You also have to watch the games. But this one, it was how often quarterbacks leave the pocket and the sack avoidance outside that pocket. If I were to ask you, Lauren, to give me the 4 guys the 4 quarterbacks who you think were left the pocket the most but were the best at avoiding sacks, what quarterbacks would you think that they were?
I would say Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen.
So you got 2 of them. Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen were the best, 1 and 2, when it comes to leaving the pocket rate, but also avoiding sacks in those situations. The number 3 was Anthony Richardson in this. Which is
there a minimum
very
number
interesting.
of
So no, it just says the 2024 season, like the full season. So, however, I don't know how many snaps comparably. Obviously, he took way less than those other 2. And then Kyler Murray is the number 4.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm not surprised. Kyler Murray, and that was one thing that I was talking about last year. When Kyler Murray can do that, he's a way better quarterback. And because he was dealing with so many injuries for a while, you weren't seeing him leave the pocket and do. So you almost forgot that Kyler Murray is capable of moving that way.
Wasn't it like there was one play that he held the ball for like 13 seconds or something just ridiculous?
Yeah, I want to say it was, I think it was over 13 seconds where he was just holding it.
And running around.
Yeah, just run. And I want to say the yardage in that, he gained like 4 yards, but ran like 50 yards or something. It was a little wild. But beyond that, so it's Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Anthony Richardson, Kyler Murray were the top 4.
I could have gotten to Kyler Murray. I would never have gotten to Anthony Richardson.
Yeah. Beyond that, this one also surprised me was Drake May was the next closest to that. And
that offensive line, you're running for your life.
Yeah, and I think some of them, I guess that's part of this too. Lamar Jackson purposefully will do this. Other quarterbacks, maybe they just have to run for their life, so they're having to leave the pocket. But the good thing is, if you're in this category, then you are able to avoid those sacks, which means you're getting rid of the ball or you're getting out of bounds or whatever the case may be to avoid that sack, which is obviously a beneficial thing. The guys around that, Patrick Mahomes was
Unless
next.
you've been thrown an interception.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. That's the most frustrating, one of the most frustrating plays, I think, to watch when you see the quarterback scrambling and he escapes like 5 different sacks and then he gets rid of the ball and then it's a pick and you're like, okay, well.
Like you guys have scramble drills for a reason and there should be more separation at that point in time.
Yeah, so I'll just break down some of them. So there's obviously kind of 4 categories in this, the way that they break it up. And there's going to be these guys that are the best at it because those guys leave the pocket a good amount but avoid pressures. And then there's the side that they leave the pocket a lot but haven't been good at avoiding those pressures. Then there's the side that they don't really leave the pocket a lot, and when they do, they suck at it anyways. And then there's the one that's like they don't have to do it a lot but they're good when they have to. And so the good category of both, where they do leave the pocket a lot and they avoid the sacks, I mentioned those top 4. And then it's Drake May, Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Bryce Young, Bo Nix, CJ Stroud, and Brock Purdy are all in that category.
You want to be in that category.
You want to be in that category.
Of quarterbacks outside of AR.
Or you want to be in this other category where maybe you don't leave the pocket a lot, but when you have to, you're able to avoid. The best one of that is Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford's the highest.
I was going to say, these are going to be the older quarterbacks, is my guess.
Yeah. So Matthew Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, Joe Burrow's in this, Jordan Love's in this, Geno Smith, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert. They are the ones.
So Herbert's probably the youngest of those guys. And now Derek Carr, obviously, at least
Jordan Love
playing.
Is Jordan Love younger than Herbert? They're probably about the same age.
Jordan Love has to be older, just like years-wise, but they've probably been in the league. Actually, Love and Justin Herbert would be right around the same
age,
years.
The category of leaves the pocket a lot and did not do a good job of avoiding pressures. Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams are the 3 quarterbacks in that category. And then doesn't leave the pocket a lot.
I was wrong, by the way. Justin Herbert, 27. Jordan Love, 26.
Oh, yeah, I thought Jordan Love was younger.
Yeah.
But
you are correct.
I also just think I've watched so much, like Justin Herbert's played so much more that made me feel, but that's just because Jordan Love sat.
And I thought, Love sat for so long, for sure.
And then so the last category, which is where you do not want to be because you don't leave you're not leaving the pocket, but when the rare time you have to, you're getting sacked, and so that's probably not where you want to be. Trevor Lawrence is in this category. Baker Mayfield is in this category. Gardner Minshew, Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, Goff, Tua Tagovailoa, Jameis Winston, Will Levis, and Kirk Cousins. The worst in this is Kirk Cousins and Will Levis. They have the 2 lowest when it comes to when they leave the pocket, they're getting sacked, and that's not what you want to see. You want to be able to get those guys and have those quarterbacks that are able to make decisions. I will say Trevor Lawrence is on that cusp of being he's right on that average. Him and Baker Mayfield were both on the line of that kind of average of being able to avoid sacks, of being in that next category. So it's not like they're terrible. The worst ones were Jameis, Kirk, and Will Levis. But it's just interesting to see these kind of things because there were a few ones that surprised me. And we mentioned the Anthony Richardson one. Drake May, to me, kind of just surprised me a little bit. Russell Wilson, maybe. I'd probably put Bryce Young, especially around the behind that line he had. He was getting hit a lot. And so it's cool to see that he has been able to kind of figure out, make good decisions, and being able to avoid some of those things.
Yeah, we'd like to, obviously, if Trevor's going to be in the category, you want him to be in one of those other two, like you said.
Yeah.
But it doesn't surprise me because we've seen him get beat up the last 2 years. And whether that's his fault, whether that's the offensive line's fault, you can have that conversation. It's different probably on every single play, but he hasn't been great at that. And that is why when we started OTAs and certainly it bled into mandatory minicamp and then now even in the Bahamas working with the guys, even though he's throwing on air, that's why Liam Cohen adjusted his footwork.
Yeah.
Is because the way that he was dropping back would usually end up rolling him into sacks.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had to change that around. So that way, now when he drops back, he's hopefully able to get at least
roll out of those rather than
right. At least get like a half a second added on of time, which can certainly change everything. All right, let's give some lunch away.
Yeah, we have free lunch to Chick-fil-A. Give us a call at 641-1010 and you will get a free lunch this afternoon. Let's say caller number 5.
Caller number 5, making RJ work. 641-1010. I'll give you today's Terminix Pest of the Day on the other side. One segment to go here on Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Put some paint on your quarter panel.
Trouble off turn number 2. A couple of cars spin. Kyle Busch is one of them.
Sunday at the Chicago Street Race. NASCAR is tuned up by Maxie's Mechanics on Jacksonville's NASCAR station, 1010XL.
Hey guys, Taylor Dahl here of Helmets and Heels. It's the little things like a peach milkshake on a warm day that makes summer sweet. And now you can head to your local Chick-fil-A and enjoy a favorite summer treat again. Hand spun the old-fashioned way, this refreshing milkshake features Chick-fil-A ice cream and peaches. It's the perfect cold treat to enjoy outside on a warm day or with friends and family after dinner. And remember, it's just here for a limited time, so swing by your local Chick-fil-A and treat yourself today.
My son had a meniscus surgery a couple of years ago. Went smooth as silk, was playing tennis in 2 weeks. This is Patrick Malarkey, and I highly recommend Southeast Orthopedic Specialist.
Our son Eric's a Division I collegiate baseball pitcher who is having shoulder pain. We took him to Southeast Orthopedic Specialist and are confident that he's now on the road to recovery. This is Beth Anderson, and we love the care Eric receives at Southeast Orthopedic Specialist.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialist.
Frank Franzi here for Coil Fencing. Jacksonville's full of memorable sports moments. Remember Tiger Woods' 60-foot putt on the iconic 17th? Gary Coate called it better than most. Better than most. Well, Coil Fencing is better than most. They're better than all. Coil has been that for nearly 100 years. So if you're in the market for a new fence, I recommend calling Coil & Sons today. That's at 904-356-4821 or visit coiljacks.com. That's COYLE Jacks.com.
Got a clogged drain that just won't quit? It's time to bring in the pros. Duck Duck Rooter.
I called Duck Duck Rooter for a clogged kitchen drain. They showed up fast and had it cleared in no time. No mess, no stress.
We've seen it all. Grease clogs, hairballs, mystery goo from the deep. Whatever's blocking your pipes, we'll get it flowing again. Call 904-862-6769 now to schedule your drain cleaning service. That's 904-862-6769 or online at duckduckrooter.com. When you're stuck, call the duck. It's Helmets and Heels Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
1010XL is a proud supporter of this year's Circle K Greater Jacksonville Kingfish Tournament, the largest fundraiser for marine charities. To join the fun July 10th through 19th at the Jim King Park and Boat Ramp, go to kingfishtournament.com.
With Lee and Kate's Glass, you're gonna see a big difference.
Hey, it's Frank Franzi. Look, when it comes to glass needs around the home, there's one name I trust, Lee & Kate's. It's local, family-owned, and they've been part of our community since 1926. They've taken great care of me over the years, and I know they'll do the same for you. Visit leeandkatesglass.com.
With Lee and Kate's Glass, you're gonna
want to be heard? Send your opinion to the 1010XL text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures.
Thank you for believing in me when the bosses didn't give me a chance.
641-1010. No texting and driving. Get your thoughts heard on 1010XL.
When you're experiencing sudden, unexpected dental pain, the last thing you want to hear is that your dentist can't see you until next week. That's why I'm so glad I found Harbor Dental Care. Whenever I call, they always find a way to see me within 24 hours, and they can usually fix whatever's wrong the same day. Plus, they have locations throughout Jacksonville, so no matter what side of town I'm on, I can always count on the same great care. If you want to find a dentist who believes in treating people right, learn more at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
Say goodbye to glasses and contacts with customized vision treatments at Bowden Eye & Associates. Hey, Hicken here. Dr. Bowden and his expert team bring you all the latest options like Evo implantable Coliber lenses, refractive lens exchange, or traditional LASIK. Tailored just for you. Imagine waking up to clear vision. No hassle, no fuss. You ready to see the difference? Call now or visit BowdenEye.com for a free screening. Bowden Eye & Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Instant Keys saves the day if you have lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call 722-1111.
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Have you or someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI and all criminal offenses. I've been named the best DUI attorney in the state, and David has been named the best criminal defense lawyer in Jacksonville. In your battle with the justice system, there is only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down from the cool guys at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Fast, reliable, and honest service since '87.
It's funny, the Twitter world reacting to the Mike Brown hiring is honestly very interesting, very funny already. But the majority of them, I read some of them on that last, most people just kind of saying, why did you fire Tibbs if this was the move? And I think to RJ's point, I think they thought that more people would be interested because of what they did in that season and in the postseason. And maybe people were like, all right, well, they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, so this is going to be a very appealing job. The problem is I'm not sure they quite thought through that the people they wanted had jobs, which I would have given them Billy Donovan, but the Bulls did not want to give them Billy Donovan.
Which, yeah.
But then we would have got Mike Brown, and I would have been like, what the heck? Why did we get Mike Brown? So
Right, exactly. That's very true. All right, time now for today's Terminix Pest of the Day, as always brought to you by our friends at Terminix. If you have any sort of pest issues, whether that's ants, cockroaches, wasps, if you have mosquitoes and you want Terminix to treat your yard for mosquitoes, they can, of course, do that. You can find them online at Terminix.com. That's TERMINIX.com. They take care of Everbank Stadium, ViStar Ballpark, ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena, all of your favorite event venues around town. This one, Taylor, this Terminix Pest of the Day is going out to whatever caused the Red Panda, the very famous Red Panda, to be injured last night. She was performing at the halftime of the WNBA Commissioner's Cup between the Fever and the Lynx, and there hasn't been an update as to what exactly she hurt. It looked kind of, in the video that I saw, it looked kind of like her wrist. If you don't know, the Red Panda is the stage name for Wrong You. She rides a unicycle that sits 8 feet above the ground and balances bowls on her head. When I worked at UNF,
I was like, what are the Red Pandas doing?
They're not,
I would go watch that, though.
Yeah, you would want to pet all the pandas. Yeah, the Red Panda is very, very famous.
But I know who you're talking about
for halftime performances. Like I said, when I worked at UNF, I was like, we have to get the Red Panda here. Like, she will bring the crowd. Wasn't quite able to secure the Red Panda, but you can, of course, like Google it or YouTube it, I should say, and see tons of her tricks and everything like that. But I'm guessing that maybe the court was like wet in an area or something like that, because she has performed thousands of times. I mean, I worked at UNF in 2015. So that goes to show you it's been 10 years since I had first heard about her. And she's never, to my knowledge, she's never been injured. And so something
Which is also wild because some of the, I don't know how she does that.
Oh my gosh.
I think I've seen her
incredible.
actually. I think I saw her at a Bulls game.
That would make sense.
One of at the United Center. I'm pretty sure it was definitely someone was doing that. I didn't know it was like one person that traveled everywhere and did that. So but have you ever rode a unicycle?
No.
Okay, I have. I've tried. So my cousin, he got one when we were, I don't know, he was probably 15 at the time. I was like 13. And not a 8-foot one or whatever it is, or whatever she rides. It's a normal sized unicycle.
Yeah.
But he was actually pretty good at it and would do like tricks, like he would balance stuff on his head and whatever. And I could it was one of the things where like you also kind of have to like leap up a little bit. So you have to like push yourself off the ground, and even on a normal sized one. And so in addition to trying to just like get your balance as you're leaping on this thing, there's only one wheel. And so you're trying to figure that out, and your hands automatically are kind of going, you look like a bird or something. Because they're just free out in here. You're used to having to like hold a handlebar or something, and very difficult. And I just thought that might be a fun wheel of misfortune for Dan or Jeff. Have them do a halftime performance on a unicycle.
I don't know if they could do it, but because like you said, it's difficult. I know my uncle's really good. One of my mom's brothers is really good at riding, or at least once upon a time was really good at riding unicycles. But yeah, it's really difficult.
It is.
And so yeah, I don't know that they could accomplish that, but I like that idea as far as a punishment. They'd have to do something at a halftime
performance.
Yeah, whether that's singing. Dan could certainly sing. I don't know if Jeff can juggle, but he could do that. But you don't realize how much pressure's on you until you have to get out there and do it. I did read further that it was her wrist, and she did have to be taken to a hospital. They just haven't updated what happened, but no one really knows what caused it, and certainly it gained a lot of attention because Red Panda's famous, but also Caitlin Clark after the game, along with Sydney Colson, did an Instagram live post, and they said, "Red Panda, we love you." So obviously encouraging her. As far as the health is concerned. But yeah, it bothered me, and hopefully
Red Panda.
Hopefully Red Panda is back performing at halftimes in the near future. All right. Tony Khan joined the Rich Eisen show yesterday, and yesterday we played the audio from when Josh Hines-Allen joined the Rich Eisen show. Tony Khan, of course, the son of Shad Khan, the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I think one of the most famous videos that came out from this past year's draft is inside the Jaguars war room when they called Travis Hunter, and he immediately said, "You're making the best decision for the Jaguars to trade up." And you can see Tony Khan, you can see his sister, of course, Tony Baselli, Liam Cohen, James Gladstone, all of the important members of the Jaguars brass. And so here is Tony Khan on drafting Travis Hunter that night.
Well in advance, and it really speaks to the preparation. I think James Gladstone, Liam Cohen, Tony Baselli, we have a great football leadership, and really, really a lot of great communication. This was something that James and the team had been talking about for a long time. To me, I really think it's just brilliant. As an analytics person and working in football analytics, Travis Hunter had some of the most impressive statistics on both sides of the ball, and to be able to bring in somebody that can add so much value to the team on both sides of the ball, and with the great plan that Liam has to use Travis I just think he's going to be so great. He's also a great human being, and James believes in doing that kind of work. We had really a lot of great communication well in advance about it. They had made the deal in advance, and barring anything unforeseen with the number one pick, this was going to happen. And I just think for a person who's a first-year general manager, James had great composure and a great plan, and it was very impressive.
I've heard Tony Khan speak before, of course, lots of times. His cadence, his speech pattern to me is almost this time sounding more like James Gladstone.
He's been hanging out with James a lot.
I think he has, like that slower.
He does, honestly. And even the way he was, the way that he was even wording certain things sound very James Gladstone.
Yeah, which, again, some people love, some people hate. All right, skip to cut 3, RJ. And how does Liam Cohen plan to use Travis Hunter?
I think he's been super open about it, that Liam plans to involve Travis on offense and defense. I think in our off-season activities already early in minicamp, and we've seen Travis work on both sides. And he's been very impressive on both sides. And it's very early, but I think he's got a great group of coaches to work with on both sides of the ball. So we're really excited about it. And I think Liam's talked about it a good amount, that he really believes Travis can contribute on offense and defense.
Taylor, we talked to Mary Kay Cabot who covers the Browns up there for Cleveland.com and the Plain Dealer. And, we just asked about Travis Hunter, the Browns, who at one point in time, the GM Andrew Berry said he's the Shohei Ohtani of football, talking about Travis Hunter. And the Jaguars, of course, moved up with the Browns to trade him. And then the Browns ended up going out and drafting Mason Graham with that 5th pick. And, of course, he was linked, like you mentioned, to Jacksonville for so long. If Mason Graham had been the pick at 5, not Ashton Genty, but if Mason Graham had been the pick at 5, the defensive tackle out of Michigan, how much more this summer would we be talking about the expectations for Trevor Lawrence? We're already talking about that some, but we have mixed in certainly a great deal of conversations surrounding the expectations for Travis Hunter. How much more would we be talking? Like, it feels like almost every segment we'd be talking about Trevor Lawrence. In addition to, and we wouldn't really be talking about Mason Graham that much. Sure, they got a defensive tackle, and let's see, how good he is this year. But I feel like we would be even more focused on that.
Yeah, I feel like there would also be maybe a little more concern too, because a lot of people probably would think they didn't do enough offensively to help Trevor, and because
they
part of
a
this
2nd round pick, so maybe they could have
if they got a wide receiver in that, which that's what it's we don't know what they would have done in that in that circumstance. They also could have taken Ashton Genty, and then we'd be talking a ton about Ashton Genty.
We sure would.
I do think that we don't know what would have happened. I always go back to the Tennessee Titans really could have ruined our life.
They could have ruined our lives,
to.
For sure.
They could have ruined everything
by taking Travis Hunter.
Yeah, they could have taken Travis Hunter, or because it was just pretty much if the Browns, if they took Cam Ward, that was going to happen. If they didn't take Cam Ward, then that's not what it's. So if they took Travis Hunter, or somebody traded up and things kind of got all discombobulated, which could have happened. And that's a long shot.
It wouldn't have happened now looking back, but say Shedeur Sanders.
Yes.
Who for a long time people thought was going to be the second quarterback.
Yeah,
off
that was the one talked about. And so they really could have messed up everything. And they didn't know, thankfully. Thank goodness that they were lips were sealed on this, because I really wonder if that would have, not saying the Titans would be like, let's mess up our pick just to mess up the Jags world, but would have been more conversation with trade backs, because they would have known that the Jags were trying to get up to 2 to get Travis Hunter, or who knows? But they really could have, if they wanted to, mess everything up. So thankfully they didn't.
That's a good point. I guess because we knew the Titans were so in love with Cam Ward for so long. However, what's interesting is if Will Levis had been just a little bit better last season, maybe not a little bit, had been a lot better, then I don't think the Jaguars have Travis Hunter.
Yeah, definitely.
Will Levis is still
so thank you, Will
Titans quarterback. Thank you for sucking so much that they moved on from you as quickly as they did. Well, he's still on the team, but certainly that they ended up having to draft another quarterback. Which again, I always tell people, and Taylor, you know this because you watch college football. If you watch college football, a lot of times you can project what is going to happen in the NFL. Not always. I'm not saying that I knew Tom Brady would be the world's best quarterback in the NFL once upon a time, but I can tell you based off of watching Anthony Richardson and Will Levis, it's going to be a struggle for them at the next level for completely different reasons. But I just don't understand how these NFL scouts watch this film and come to completely different conclusions than the rest of us.
Yeah, it is odd. And they always feel, when it's guys like a Will Levis, they see glimpses of things like, oh, okay, well, we saw him do this. If you bring him and you develop that part of his game, then they think in that mindset. And sometimes they reach a little too hard. And we've also seen it work other times. We've seen other quarterbacks. We talk about it, Tom Brady. Other quarterbacks get drafted where probably at that time people were like, that's weird. Like, why did? And I think Jordan Love is an example, but also still kind of a TBD, because I don't really know if you know where Jordan Love's level, his ceiling is quite yet, but they traded up into the first round to draft Jordan Love, and nobody was talking about Jordan Love. That draft, it was kind of like, okay, there's Jordan Love. He'll probably go like second, third round to somebody. And they traded up to draft him while they still had Aaron Rodgers. If that ends up working out, if Jordan Love continues to win 11, 12 games with the Packers, even if he's not Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre, but is good enough to keep doing that, then that's going to be a storyline of, okay, a lot of people didn't feel like that was a smart pick whatsoever. They were judging them for not getting Aaron Rodgers a wide receiver, but you'll look back and you'll be like, all right, well, they've won now X amount of years with 10 plus wins, and Jordan Love's another quarterback we're talking about just fitting right into the Green Bay offense and making it work.
And that's why I get so jealous of franchises that are stable and have sustained success, because even when you make a poor move like the 49ers did in drafting up to get Trey Lance, they still had the wherewithal to draft a Brock Purdy, albeit the very last pick in the entire NFL draft, making him Mr. Irrelevant. But that part doesn't matter. You still hedged your bets. You added another quarterback, and you did develop him. And so if that had been the Jaguars that had drafted up, or traded up, I should say, to get a quarterback, and then ended up that quarterback didn't work out, I feel like the Jaguars wouldn't have
been
drafted another quarterback and had him waiting in the wings, and ended up being now one of the higher paid quarterbacks in all of the league, who's certainly paid his dues as far as earning what I think this year he was projected to earn like around $1 million or something like that, $1 million.
Who, what, Brock?
Brock
Purdy, if he didn't get that extension.
Didn't get the extension, All right, let's say hello to Leon.
Now, the 2-minute drill on 1010XL.
I always wait to see what kind of music RJ's going to play with the 2-minute drill. Is it NFL? Is it college? For you, Leon, it could go either way.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate RJ as a DJ.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's got skills.
Leon, let me ask you this. I just saw this pop up. So Feinbaum had a quote today on Get Up, and he said, Arch Manning is the best college football quarterback we have seen since Tim Tebow entered the scene in 2006.
What? That's insane. Stop it.
Has he heard of Cam Newton?
It's insane. I mean, kid's got enough pressure on himself already, only playing 2 games and all the expectation. He's the Heisman front runner, potential winner, before he's even played a down. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's insane.
Let's just let him play first. Let's see.
And that's what we were hearing. So I can't remember who it was. Someone was talking about, like, he couldn't even beat out Quinn Ewers, who got Steve Spurrier, and got drafted in the 7th round.
I love Steve Spurrier.
Me too. I'm surprised to hear you say that.
No, I do. I love him. I love him for that, because he's telling the truth.
Yeah.
You're talking about a kid hasn't played really any significant football over the last 3 years.
Mhm.
And Quinn Ewers went in the 7th round, and you couldn't beat him.
Right.
Okay. So that means he's a projected free agent.
Yeah.
By the way, my favorite Steve Spurrier quote, or at least one of them, you can't spell citrus without UT. He was making fun of the Tennessee Volunteers. They always went to the Citrus Bowl.
Oh, that's funny.
Never any of the better bowls.
Oh, I have a great Steve Spurrier story.
Let's
So
hear it.
after I got released from the Ravens, he was the head coach with the Washington Redskins at the particular time. So Marvin Jones, who was on that staff, drove me over there to interview with Steve Spurrier, and I sit down, I'm a little nervous or whatever. He sits at the desk and he says, Leon, we would have got you back in the day if we had played you. So he's talking smack to me, and I have to choose. Do I talk smack back, or do I be respectful?
I hope you.
What'd you choose? Which path?
I talk smack back. I said, Coach, y'all ran from us. I mean, y'all took us off the schedule. Y'all could have played us for sure. Well, you're lucky. I enjoyed it. And then after 30 minutes of bantering one another about Miami and Florida, then we got to the business of if you want to decide. It was pretty cool.
I love those stories.
Yeah, me too.
And look, I think it was smart. I hate to say it. I hate to say, like, they were running from the Canes, but I think it was smart to take Miami off the schedule for that stretch of time.
You
already have Florida State as non-conference plus the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, we were independent, so we played a lot of different teams or whatever.
Right.
I think it would have been a little bit tougher if we were in a conference back then. But we did. We tried to play at least, and I checked it. We played at least 4 to 5 ranked teams this season. So Florida was just one of them.
Sure.
Yeah, but we took them all the way they took us off. So be it.
Yep, so be it. I really enjoyed yesterday with both the coaches in there.
Oh, yeah.
All the bling in that room.
It was a lot of bling. It was. Yeah. I love both those coaches. And I was giving them their flowers because everybody talks about the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the privilege of being coached by Jimmy Johnson, Erickson, Bill Cowher, and Tom Coughlin, who are all potential Hall of Famers. But as a player, you get more connected to the assistant coaches because you spend more time with them.
Mm-hmm. Right, that makes perfect sense. All right, what are y'all doing today?
Well, we're going to talk Arch Manning. Is he overhyped? And then we're going to Weird Wednesday is what is a talent that you may have that other people don't know.
Oh, I like
That's a good
that.
one.
Yeah, so
I would have said mine's swimming, but I raced my brother recently and he kicked my butt. So I think I've lost my fastball when it comes to swimming. But we'll be listening. Thanks, Liam.
All right, appreciate it.
Maybe for Weird Wednesday, they'll break down if Miami can finally win an ACC championship this year, Taylor. Had to get that parting shot as Leon walks out the door. All right, that'll do it for us today. For RJ Saunders, for Taylor Dahl, I'm Lauren Brooks. These heels are made for talking. We will talk to you tomorrow, but don't go anywhere. XL Prime Time on a Weird Wednesday.